Betmaker Show. This is the horse racing picks preview for races that run at Santa Anita Park on Santa Anita Derby Day, Saturday, June 6th, 2020. And now, live from Las Vegas, the host of the Betmaker Show, Brian Blessing.
Hey folks, how you doing? Brian Blessing. Looking forward to a big weekend in horse racing. We're looking forward to some big races that honestly aren't all that appealing, but that's the nature of the beast. And I think it's the story that for horse racing and the better, it begins and ends with field size and wagering opportunities. We really don't have that luxury. I think we're going to see some great horses and maybe some ding-dong battles, but I don't see a way to really make a truckload of dough on some of these races. But we got a couple little nuggets that will try to help in that regard. But last week, boy, oh boy, I wish we could do this for you every week. We had Secret Message that we talked about coming off the shelf. Great training job that was done last week by Graham Motion, and we were all over Secret Message. It was 8-1 morning line in a turf race. Floated up to 25-1 and won the race for fun from off the pace. And the other key race we had with the two great horses, and that's just to follow up. And again, it's about what can you do for me today? Forget last week. But we talked about the race last week with two monster horses that had similar running styles and said, as great as they are, and they're probably better than the horse that ultimately won the race, when you say pace makes the race, these two horses did beat themselves into submission. And we said if they do that, there was a long shot they could win from off the pace if that happened and the race kind of collapsed, and we had another 13-1 winner. So tough act to follow from last week, but as we look forward to this week, I would just say some things to watch, and to the point where apologies to say I don't have any specific data other than watching Belmont Open. The thing that's popping in my head, Arad Ortiz had 5 wins on opening day. Don't ever sleep on the hot jockey. And the other guy, Cardenas, is a bug rider. And this kid has booted home in the first few days a few long shot, bombs. And the point is, okay, yeah, Ortiz the jockey, Cardenas the bug rider. But to me, go behind the scenes, and it's the jockey's agent. So when a jockey gets hot, the other guy that's hot, it's like handicapping. You tell me, folks, when you're out there and you're betting, there are days where it just leaps off the page. Then there are days where you think you've never done this before. Just like anybody, the athletes can get hot. Horse gets good form. But I'm telling you, the key is, and no one ever talks about these guys, the jockey's agents. They're the ones that put the jockey on the horse in the spot they believe has an opportunity to win. So if Ortiz is riding great, his agent's doing great work. And if this Cardenas kid is coming out of the gate hot, okay, a couple of these long shots have gone by the boards, but I think there's still a window of opportunity to take an extra little peek at any horse that this bug rider Cardenas is on before the cat gets out of the bag. If the kid goes on and wins 8-9 more and he becomes one of the top 5 riders, because don't kid yourself, weight makes a difference in the break in weight. But the kid's still got to be able to ride, and the jockey's agent's still got to be able to decide the right place to put him on. So again, this entire game, the way to play this game is to try to get ahead of it and make money on a horse. Now, just like the horse we were talking about last week, the Secret Message, the discussion, we had this discussion last week, said, play this horse at 8-1 because the next time he goes, he's going to be 3-1. Well, he floated up to 25-1. Well, now he wins that race at 25-1. The next time you play the horse, that horse looks really good, and you're going to get, 3-1, 7-2. So, you're always trying to stay ahead of the curve. So let's go to the big races at Santa Anita. And there are 3 graded stakes races. The Santa Anita Oaks Grade 2 event, mile and 16th on the turf on Saturday. It's race 5. And again, it's so sad. In part of the reason is that when Santa Anita shut down, and Bob Baffert, could you imagine if Bob Baffert wasn't in these races? Because Baffert threatened, he said, I'm out of here. You had the LA County Health Department, and he said, at some point, I got to pick my horses up and get out of here. Well, Baffert opened his yap about that, and all of a sudden, hey, look who's running again. But a lot of the good trainers had horses that were ready to run, and they said, we can't sit idly by. And they went to Oaklawn and then took those horses from Oaklawn and went to Churchill Downs. Now they're showing up at Belmont. So, some of the high-profile trainers have vamoosed out of Santa Anita, and we love the big day at a racetrack because the undercard's spectacular. That's not the case here. The field sizes are brutal. So there's only 5 fillies going in this race, in the 5th race, and there are 2 that really kind of stick out in the race. And to me, Swiss Skydiver, 6-5. Mike Smith with Ken McPeak, the trainer, kind of invading. And it'll be the first race for the daughter of Daredevil that will be going over the surface at Santa Anita. Now, second choice, 2-1 is the 2, and that's a Bob Baffert horse. And any Baffert horse takes way too much money. But this horse has 2 races, over the track. And actually, Baffert, must have thought something of this horse, Merneath, because this is what Baffert does all the time. By the way, I guess maybe mark this down for the Belmont and the big days back east. Baffert's always done this. He calls it beer money. When he's got the big horse running in the Arkansas Derby, but he'll ship in 2 or 3 horses along with the big horse, and he wins 2 races on the undercard or 3 races on the undercard. And he basically, these are horses that pay for the flight there for the other horse, but they're horses that he's convinced are going to win. And boy, did this one, Merneath, run a monster race, won by 10 lengths in a maiden special weight race, field of 12. You would think some good horses will come out of this race. This horse won by 10.25 lengths. So clearly is filly on the rise. And by the way, it's a daughter of American Pharaoh. But, 2 nice races that she was second, goes to Oaklawn and freaks. And some of these horses in these stakes races today kind of fit the bill for a bounce, where out of nowhere they run this incredibly big race. And that's not necessarily who they are. They may regress after that. But the difference is with the 3-year-olds, they can all, and we talk about this all the time, they can be late bloomers and change overnight. So maybe this is who Merneath is. Not to diminish Speech, who's on the board at 8-5, the number 3, comes off a big run, just missed by a neck at Belmont Park, and comes back to Santa Anita. The one that clearly looks to be up against it is Regal Beauty. And again, this thing's now down to a field of 4. I think it's actually going to be a fun race to watch, honestly. I mean, the betting aspect of it, which is what we're here for, is the thing that's pretty problematic. Let's go to the Santa Anita Derby. And I guess we're looking at this like, wow, look at all these horses. There's 7 horses in this race. I mean, that's nothing to write home about. Baffert's got Authentic, who's the 4-5 morning line favorite, has won 3 races. This is a son of Into Mischief. Again, trying to find nuggets for you to make money. Baffert had a first-time starter 2 weeks ago, and they pounded this horse. And very rarely will I play a first-time starter breaking from the rail, because that's a daunting experience. First time at the gate's tough. But when these horses, probably 90% of the time, break poorly from the rail in their first career start. But there was a daughter, a son of Into Mischief, that went off at 11-1 that just destroyed the Baffert monster. And this is a son of Into Mischief. Just look for the Into Mischief horses that are out there running, because they are so consistent and they run like reindeer. But Authentic, the thing that'll be interesting here, this is one that could be the controlling speed, and Baffert, the way he hustles them up. I mean, you look at the workouts, 6 furlongs, 111, 6 furlongs, 112, 112 and 2 for another 6 furlong work. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I think Authentic can be the dictating speed in the race, and that's probably what's going to happen. But with the designs on what lies ahead, there could come a day where the trainer would love to see the horse have that ability to rate and pass horses. I don't think you use the Santa Anita Derby as a teaching experience, but that would be nice to see Authentic if having that willingness to pass horses. There are others in here. 9-5, John Sheriff's, Mike Smith. Honor AP is the number 6 that's been freshened for this race. Ran second in the grade to San Felipe, but was throttled by the horse to his immediate outside, Authentic. Horses can turn the tables in a rematch I don't know that that's the case. The one thing I would say, always beware the other horse. When Bob Baffert won the Kentucky Derby for the first time, I think it was Indian Charlie was the horse that everybody's hammering him, the big favorite, and Baffert's other horse, Real Quiet, won the race at a price. Baffert has another horse in here, and this would be one that needs a big step forward. That's that Azul Coast, the number 5. For outstanding information and special offerings and promotions, we invite you and encourage you to sign up for our newsletter today simply by going to the website at betmaker.com. 4 is Anu Dor. This is a horse we talked about for the Arkansas Derby, and the horse really just had a bad break. It was last away at the game. All chance was lost. That's the number 4. Shooter Shoot, the 3. I think has speed but can't keep up with Authentic. Tactical speed from the 2 Rushy with a great rider in Flavian Pratt. A big step forwards required. And one that could pick up the pieces. But yet a maiden running in the Santa Anita Derby on the rail is Friars Road for trainer Mike McCarthy. So now the one thing I would say from a money-making aspect, I've been having a really good fortune with these kind of runners. When you get a race where the horse is 3-5, 1-9, monster horse, fall down to lose kind of thing, I think you can still make money on the exactas. I mean, you're going to get an idiot number if the second or third choice runs behind the big favorite. But if a longer shot runs second, the exacta actually can come back and pay 24, 26, 28, 30 bucks. With a horse you're convinced is the winner. And I've really started to, instead of me turning the page and saying, those races aren't worth it, they are worth it. And I'll tell you why. The horse you think has to fall down to lose runs and wins the race. But what happens is, even going against some quality horses, when the really big horse, the big favorite, pushes the button and goes, he kind of rips the heart out of the chest of the really good horse that's accustomed to winning. And they just kind of flounder, or the jockey says, I'm going to save the horse and live the fight another day. But what happens is the plotter, the horse that consistently passes horses, is just going to run his race. The reality was he's probably only running for second or third anyway. But the guy from the back of the pack on the horse that has that ability to close late is riding the hair off this one. When the good horse that's running second behind the good horse, the jockey may be just like, he's not wailing away with the whip. He's saving him for another day. And I'm telling you, you take the big monster favorite with the best closer in the race, you'd be shocked how often that comes in. And the exacta comes back and actually pays a real nice number. And you don't have to be messing around with boxing and anything. Just instead of, if you normally bet $20 on a race, you do a $20 exacta, and you'll be sitting there going, whoa, and you'd be shocked sometimes the kind of money that it could produce. So a little food for thought on that one. And then wrap it up at Santa Anita with the grade, double check, grade 1. Yeah, grade 1. The Gold Cup, 1.25 miles, a classic distance. And here we go again, a field of 6. And you look at the runners that are in here. You've got on the rail, Parsimony. The connections are interesting. A lot of times, this is a beauty when you play the sport all the time and have for years. You just look at stuff and bam, the memory bank starts kicking in. It's the connections that make this one appealing. Coming back from Dubai usually is a complete chuck. But Doug O'Neill with his go-to rider, Gutierrez, when combined, going for Redham Racing. They've had Triple Crown success. And Doug O'Neill's a sneaky guy in terms of having a horse ready to go off the shelf. And he's 15-1 morning line. Normally, to me, you automatically throw out the horses coming back from Dubai. But I wouldn't necessarily discount this one's chances just because of the connections you have to respect. The 2 is Midcourt for John Sheriffs. This would be my top play in the race. 3 of the last 4 races with buyer figures in excess of 100. And I just love Victor Espinoza. The guy's a money rider. The bigger the race, the more I like when Victor Espinoza's aboard. Blinkers come off because last race, this horse just hung a little bit in the closing stages. And when a trainer takes blinkers off, that generally blinkers on promotes speed, blinkers off for the most part promotes closing. And then the horse is not limited with the blinkers in terms of seeing what's around him, really help him focus on a target to go and ultimately pass the horse. So I like the change there, the equipment change. Mid-court, the number 2 would be my top selection. 9-5, Pratt for John Sadler aboard Higher Power. Now, this horse has the best career buyer, and that was winning the Pacific Classic at Del Mar with a 107 buyer, which is just a monstrosity. And that's kind of the race on the resume that would beat mid-court. And there's just too much inconsistency here for me for this one. That one race, though, is producing a morning line of 9-5. You get speed from Brown Storm. I just don't know the sustainability on the number 4. The 5, Improbable has back class. Bob Baffert, 2-1. And again, to me, this 2-1, in many respects, really is about the connections. This one came up second at the Oaklawn Mile and, has that monster race, won an in-house stake. Again, the big figure is at Del Mar, and I think that's what's telling you is that track was so souped up that those horses I was talking about with those big races at Del Mar, I think they're a tad more suspect when you return them back to Santa Anita Park. And then you get Mike Smith at a price at 6-1 on Tenfold for trainer Steve Asmussen. This one is going to be a dozen lengths off the pace. And Mike Smith, who's great at this, will just sit and relax and stage one big run and hope against hope that Improbable, Mid-Court, and Higher Power are involved in a just sustained battle down the stretch. The stone-cold closer in this group is Tenfold. Steve Asmussen's an invader here. It would take a big, big step forward, for this 5-year-old. But coming off the shelf, sneaky. Why? What's Asmussen doing coming all the way out here? I don't think he'd be making this move unless he thought this horse was sitting on a big race. But is the improvement there to overcome the others we talked about? But I would go with the 2-1 shot. I think Mid-Court is the play in the Gold Cup at Santa Anita in race 10. Not thrilled with the field sizes. Trying to find a way to maybe make a little bit of money with those exactas we talked about, but always read between the lines and always have an eye on the future. Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. Always looking forward to a fun weekend in racing. And by the way, all these tracks start to open up slowly but surely. We're getting back, and horse racing's at least supplied us with a little bit of entertainment here throughout the downtime. But now the summer meets are kicking in. It's going to be great fun. Betmaker, let's make some money tonight. Well, that's the Betmaker Show for now. We publish multiple times each week. We'd like to thank you for listening, and if you liked what you heard, please take a moment to leave a rating and review, or subscribe to our show feed, or share our show with a friend or two and help us grow the show. We very much appreciate it. Visit us on the web at betmaker.com. And reminder to sign up for the newsletter. Thanks to our engineer, Darren Vandermolen, and producer, Mike Gallivan. The Betmaker Show is a production of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated. Betmaker is a registered trademark. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this content without the express written consent of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
The handicapping and sports odds information contained on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm the wagering regulations in your jurisdiction, as they vary from state to state, province to province, and country to country. Using this information to contravene any law or statute is prohibited. The podcast is not associated with, nor is it endorsed by any professional or collegiate league, association, or team. This podcast does not target and is not intended for an audience under the age of 18. If you think that you have a gambling addiction, stop this podcast now and please seek help.
Gambling and betting on sports is a form of entertainment and should be about having a good time. But when done excessively, it may negatively affect other areas of a person's life, such as their physical and mental health, school or work performance, finances, and or interpersonal relationships. at betmaker.com. And the Betmaker Show, we're concerned about the addiction that gambling may cause, and for this reason, we encourage everyone to practice responsible gambling, an approach to gambling that helps you ensure that it remains an enjoyable activity. Here are the main principles of responsible gambling. Don't think of gambling as a way to make money. Always gamble with money that you can afford to lose. Set limits and stick to them. Never chase losses. Don't gamble when you're depressed or upset, and create a healthy balance. Always be aware of how much time you spend gambling or thinking about gambling. And do not allow gambling to cause you to miss out on time with family and friends or time spent on other activities you enjoy. By following these guidelines, gambling can be a good time and great entertainment. If you feel at any time that your gambling is taking away from important areas of your life, is causing you stress or depression, or is leading to financial losses that are beyond your control, please reach out for help. Learn more at responsiblegambling.org.